Welcome back to the Hot 7 Nightly News. Thank you for staying with us. The mayor of Castries has indicated that come the next general election, he's contemplating an upgrade from mayor to MP. Peterson Francis confirmed that he has always had an interest in politics during a press conference at City Hall on Wednesday. Mayor Francis reminded the media that he is not new to the political arena.
Maybe you should take the opportunity here, Mr. Mayor, to tell us whether or not you have any interest in elected politics within experience like command. Maybe you should take the opportunity
especially Castries Central and
to just tell us whether you have interest or not.
Well, I always have interest in politics.
Elected politics.
Yes,
elected
but
politics.
I was a endorsed candidate in the last election.
Yeah,
what else is that? Yes.
We're talking about the upcoming one.
You talk about the upcoming one?
Yes.
The door is wide open.
The next general election is constitutionally due by 2021. In other news, the leader of the opposition, Philip J. Pierre, is urging Prime Minister Alan Chasney to answer to the authenticity of a letter making the rounds on social media, indicating that permission was granted to a company to seek financial assistance from lending institutions, with the government assuring to repay the loan of US $62 million. Meanwhile, a question surrounding the authenticity of that letter was put to Minister Guy Joseph. Solange Alfred tells us more in this report.
The leader of the opposition, Philip J. Pierre, has questions that he wants answered in light of a recent letter supposedly signed by Minister Guy Joseph giving permission to the company, Padua Limited and Associates, to use the said letter as a means to acquire funds from financial institutions, with the assurance that the government of St. Lucia would repay the loan of US $62 million at a 3.59% interest rate. Pierre has placed a 7-day ultimatum on the table for the Prime Minister, urging for transparency and answers as to the authenticity of the letter.
We call on the Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, Alan Chasney, to make a public statement about the authenticity of this letter. And if this letter is not authentic, that he takes disciplinary action against Minister Guy Joseph. If the Prime Minister fails to respond accordingly within the next 7 days, the official opposition will be left with no choice but to comment that the Prime Minister is not in control of the government and their questionable actions.
Meanwhile, Minister Guy Joseph was in no mood to be pressed on this matter by the local press at the last sitting of Parliament.
There was a letter issued from your desk.
My ministry issues several letters for several things. So as to what you're talking about, I cannot be specific on anything that you are raising a question.
Do you recall?
Let me be very clear with you. The ministry's documents are the ministry's documents. If you are going to ask me to verify anything that is circulated out there, you'd have to go to the source of the circulation and find out what happened. I am not at liberty to come and disclose every document that the ministry, whether I as the minister, the permanent secretary, or anybody else signs to go out there. So if you come to my ministry and I give you a document, I can verify the document. Outside of the ministry official list of documents, I cannot answer to what is out there.
The letter states, quote, "Please be informed that the government of St. Lucia is currently engaged in discussions with Padua's Limited and Association about funding the streetlight project and the St. Jude's Hospital project in St. Lucia." End quote. According to Pierre, the streetlight project has already been financed by the Caribbean Development Bank, which makes the issue of this letter an even more pressing one.
This letter is highly irregular and presents a high risk of damaging the image of St. Lucia as a law-abiding nation, and in particular, the handling of multi-million-dollar projects.
Attempts to ascertain further information on the legitimacy of business operations of Padua's Limited and Associates were unsuccessful. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Solange Alfred.
A newfound wave of concern is being raised over the health of the nation following a recent PAHO and FAO report which reveals that obesity is on the rise and is causing an increase in sickness benefit claims. Obesity is a leading cause of non-communicable diseases, including diabetes, hypertension, and heart disease. The president of the Diabetes and Hypertension Association is calling on St. Lucians to take better care of their weight, as obesity is nearing epidemic rates here and across the region. Andrew Felix told Hot 7 News that reports have revealed alarming truths about the number of cases of obesity, which has a direct link to non-communicable diseases in the region. Felix, who also serves as a personal trainer/fitness instructor, said the escalating levels of obesity is a major focal point of his. This, he says, is because of the risk that comes along with it.
Internationally, the escalating or epidemic of obesity is one of the leading causes of the rising level of other NCDs, the cancers, diabetes, hypertension, COPD, which is a lung condition, and those are the main NCDs which are alarming people. So I just believe that if we focus on obesity, the numbers will come down. And for all those individuals who are out there thinking and saying, you know, that the healthcare is okay, the numbers are not rising, all you have to do is look around you.
The president also urges people to place a lot more focus on eating healthier and being more active. He says there is substantial evidence to back up his claims and concerns.
I've spoken to several persons at NIC and they've indicated as well that the rising level of claims is an indicator of the same thing that I'm talking about, the rising level of NCDs. So obviously, every time someone's sick, they go and make a claim. So when people talk about factual evidence, they need to go to the Ministry of Health, they need to go to statistics, and they need to speak to someone at NIC. Because if you're speaking to these individuals, if you look at reports, if you look at the fact that, you know, NIC is focusing on fitness programs, outdoor gym facilities like the one in Bossé-Jus, if you look at all of these kind of initiatives that they're trying to put together to reduce the rising level of obesity, that should be a sign within itself. So I always say to individuals, if you want the information, lean on people with the information. You know, don't draw onto your own conclusions, don't lean on people that haven't got the facts. And the facts are alarming, not just in St. Lucia, but throughout the region.
According to a March 19 report from website Business Insider, St. Lucia was ranked at number 2 on a list of top 10 unhealthiest countries in the world. The report has been largely panned by locals who call the findings nonsensical. The search for the next National Carnival Queen has officially begun. Events company St. Lucia has put out a registration call for the 2019 National Carnival Queen pageant. Auditions will be held on Saturday, the 13th of April from 10 a.m. at the National Cultural Center. The pageant is slated for Saturday, the 29th of June 2019. Marketing and Sponsorship Officer with Events Company St. Lucia, Leila Williams, says organizers will not disappoint in terms of staging this year's show. Williams is hopeful that an outstanding group of contestants will be selected this year.
Last year, in terms of the interest, in terms of the support that Events St. Lucia received for the National Carnival Queen pageant, it really was phenomenal. From the moment that we had the sashing ceremony where the young ladies were presented with their sponsors or to their sponsors, it almost seemed as if St. Lucia had this new and revived interest in the National Carnival Queen pageant. And based on the standard we set last year, we really cannot and will not disappoint this year, because I suspect people are looking to us even more than they did last year for us to put on an event which is befitting of just the nature of the event. So we're looking for a show of a very high standard. I know there are fantastic applicants out there, and come next week, Saturday, April the 13th at the National Cultural Center, I'm expecting to be wowed.
Williams encourages young women to register highlighting the transformative experience that many contestants have had over the years due to their participation in the pageant.
In addition to the prizes that the young ladies receive, and I mean there are monetary prizes, there are products, there are in kind, and so sometimes it really baffles us when you look at a young lady who has come in, she's shy, demure, she is within her shell, and at the end of the entire experience, she blossoms, she becomes her own person. She now has the confidence, the self-esteem, not just to operate within her peers, but to speak with persons in different categories, in different levels, in different industries, something that they may not have had exposure to before.
There is a strict set of criteria that young women must meet to be eligible to compete in the pageant, including a minimum of 5 CSEC passes, math and English compulsory. Meanwhile, the reigning Carnival Queen, Ulrika Frederick, will go on to compete at the Miss JC's pageant in Antigua and Barbuda come the 31st of July. Prolific St. Lucian high jumper Laverne Spencer was celebrated by the government of St. Lucia at Sandals Grand on the 29th of March. The sportswoman was bestowed the title of Official Sports and Youth Ambassador for St. Lucia. Laverne was accompanied by her family to the auspicious event where a number of individuals paid tribute to the wonderful athlete. Solange Alfred tells us more.
A night of glitz and glam was hosted in honor of St. Lucian sportswoman Laverne Spencer, as the government of St. Lucia celebrated her 20 years of representation to the island. Sandals Grand played host to the prestigious event, which was well attended by many officials within the sports fraternity. Leading the charge to show appreciation to the high-flying sportswoman was Minister for Youth and Sports, Edmund Estefan, who noted the great achievements made by Spencer.
With all humility, I would like to add that what started as a modest jump has blossomed into the most decorated athlete St. Lucia has ever seen. And I dare say the region has ever seen. And we are extremely proud of you, Laverne. Tonight, we will have an opportunity to acknowledge your achievements, which has made us very gratified as a nation.
Throughout the evening, praises were showered on the committed athlete for her focused mindset, which has governed her record-breaking career. Acting Prime Minister Ezekiel Joseph, who is also the MP for Barbono, where the athlete hails from, went on to add one more accolade to the successful athlete's repertoire.
I want to say today that we have officially agreed to recognize Laverne Spencer as the Youth and Sport Ambassador to St. Lucia. Can you give a round of applause, please? In addition to this, we have agreed as a government to produce a postage stamp in honor of Laverne Spencer. And also to donate to Laverne Spencer a motor vehicle.
The celebratory dinner honoring Spencer's 20 years of representation for the island also formed part of the continuation of the island's 40th independence anniversary celebrations. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Solange Alfred.
This is the Hot 7 Nightly News. Stay with us. There's more news coming up after the break.